So I have my 3.5 inch sections cut out of both the front and back of this frame. So in order to join those two pieces back together, I'm gonna need some sleeves. And being that this is more of a budget build, I went over to the scrap pile and I pulled out this seat. This tubing fits inside of this tubing quite nicely. So we're gonna be recycling this seat and we're gonna be cutting the sleeves out of this material, probably around like 4 inches or so. And that's what's gonna be sleeving those two pieces so we can weld it all back together. After some grinding and sanding and more grinding, we finally got this dialed in exactly where we need it. We had 9 1/4 before, and now we got 5 3/4, so we're dead on. I also went ahead and prepped this joint, sanded it up real nice, added a groove in there. That'll just give us some good penetration, make this nice and strong. And in the front we had 11 inches, so we take out our 3.5, that leaves us 7.5, and we're right on there. The next thing I'm gonna be doing is drilling 2 holes, one in the top, one in the bottom on each side of these pipes. And that'll just give me a place to spot weld this sleeve in. That'll just make this joint that much stronger. And it'll help hold this sleeve in while I get everything tacked into place. I'm gonna tack this, do the same thing in the back. My favorite part of any project, it is time to weld. Like I said, all this is just going to be tacked into place. I'm going to start by tacking these little sleeves to one side, and then we'll join them together. We'll throw some tacks in the middle. Here we have it. We just got this thing tacked in the front, tacked in the back. It's all looking good. I'm gonna go ahead and throw the body on and see how it looks. So this is what the Mustang stance is gonna look like. Pretty fresh, starting to look like we're doing something. And the height, we're gonna be able to adjust that. I just haven't trimmed any of the plastic off the car yet, so we can play with that later. But for now, we need to figure out the spacing between these front tires and the rear tires. Then we got to figure out how we're going to modify this frame. So this frame is going to have to be cut down. We're going to have to get it in the back of that car. So that's what we're going to be working on next. And in order to do that, I'm going to mock up this tire. And I just have it tucked under here for now. I'm going to pull some measurements tire to tire. And that should give me my spacing I need. I can then take off the body, start working on the rear frame. And hopefully, as long as I take all my measurements carefully, all that's going to line up when I go to put this thing back on. Here's what I'm thinking for this back frame section. I got the tire spaced out. It's spaced out 3 3/4, which is 1 inch more than the front, so this will stick out 1 inch more. Then if we come on the inside, we got our hub in here, and we are sitting about 1.5 inches from the inside of this plastic here. And after quickly looking at my measurements, it looks like 18 inches. I got this back frame piece all cleaned up, looking good. I got this tire spaced out exactly where it needs to go from that tire. It's chalk, so it's not gonna move. And it looks like that axle is gonna line up somewhere in here. So that puts the frame in this location that I got it now. And unfortunately, where I cut that is about 1/2 inch short from actually butting up to this tube, which is where I'm gonna be needing to weld it. Had I known that I was gonna be doing it this way, I would have cut this tube further out, but hindsight's 2020. So unfortunately, this is gonna have to have a sleeve in it, and it's gonna have to be 2 pieces. Another thing I wanna do, since I have this kind of all tore apart, is nothing's really symmetrical on it. Like back here, this tube extended further, and then you got the little end here. That's because the motor was on this side. So I wanna notch this and then make the ends the exact same. So I have the other end piece that's sitting over there somewhere. So I'm gonna cut this tube here and I'm gonna put the other end piece. That way those are symmetrical. And I wanna do the same thing here, where I'm gonna add a tube here, notch this one, extend this tube out. I'll probably put a cap on it. That way it matches this guy over here. And then one more thing for just good looks. There's a sleeve on here that was for something to do with the steering. I'm gonna be cutting that little sleeve off. I don't think we need it anymore, then this will be symmetrical. And of course, something else we need to do is the serial number plate needs to be coming off. I'm gonna be welding that back on the frame somewhere else. That way, when this power wheel is completely built, there'll always be a little token that we can remember the cart that gave its life for the power wheel. So I have a lot of work to do, so I'm not gonna be doing a whole lot of talking, but for you guys, it's gonna go by very quick. So let's roll the montage. So that was a lot. I was able to get this collar off, all that's cleaned up, and then I was able to modify the back of this frame so that both sides are symmetrical. I spliced it in here and I fully welded the areas I wasn't going to be able to now that this bracket's tacked into place. Ran into some difficulties with this bracket. When I cut it off that old piece, I bent it up a little bit. So I had to tack it in, and then I had to bend it and try to tack it in place. So that took a little bit of time there. Tomorrow, I'm gonna be working on actually attaching this rear part of the frame to the front part of the frame. And that's gonna involve me also figuring out these little corners here. I want them to be symmetrical as well. So we'll work on that tomorrow. But for now, I'm tired, I'm going to bed. What's up guys? It's the next day. Let's get to cutting. I am moving along, so the next step is going to be to mate the back of this frame to the front of this frame. That's going to be a pretty critical step. It's going to be a lot easier to make it a little bit longer and shrink it, because I can always cut more material out. But if I have to add some material and make it longer, that's going to be a real pain. I'm going to probably have to like cut the frame and then do that tubing, sleeve, and all that again. I don't want to do that. So in order to get my measurement, what I'm thinking is I got the body here. I'm gonna cut out a bunch of this plastic on the inside, and then I'm gonna get the front tires lined up where I want them. So that means the front of the frame will be where I want it. And then I'll probably pull a point, like a measurement off of that front frame to the back here. This is the axle where the power wheel used to went through, right where that hole is. So I'm thinking if I could get a point off the front of that frame to where this power wheel axle is, that'll line me up on that wheel well perfectly. The body is on the front of that frame and I got everything exactly where I want it. Those wheels are pretty dead center of the wheel wells. And there's little points in here I used as reference. So you got these lines in the plastic. So I was able to measure off of this point to these lines and make sure that this was nice and square with the frame. Now I'm going to be pulling my measurements. I'll be taking them from the back of this bracket there to the center of that axle. I've got my note 22 3/4 from here to the center of the axle. According to my extremely precise calculations, I need to cut my notch right there. After a lot of cutting, grinding, more cutting, more grinding, more cutting, more grinding, you get the point. Finally got this measurement from here to there to exactly that 22 3/4. So pretty spot on. So before I tag that in, we got to work on this other side. This side's not going to be too bad. I think I'm just going to notch this tube so that it'll go in here, and then I'll be drilling a hole and we'll be cutting this and sleeving this like we have like everywhere else on the go kart. Man, and who needs a tube notcher? It's not perfect, but it ain't bad. Took a while. Here's how all the pieces are looking. So we got our little sleeve as always, and we got this guy here, and everything will just sit like this. We got our notches cut out. So I'm gonna take some final measurements, make sure our lengths are perfect. Then I gotta get this centered in here, and then I also got to take a level and make sure that this whole thing's level. And I don't want this back end either high or low. So I'm gonna do that now, and I'm gonna get all this tacked in. Here we are. So that frame is completely tore apart, back together, tacked. That front piece is now connected to the whole rear section of the frame. Everything's nice and level. Everything's symmetrical. We got our two little rear caps on there, all looking good. We even got that little bracket tacked in place for the bearing that goes on that axle. So was all that work worth it? Is it actually gonna fit that Mustang? I don't know. You're going to have to hit that subscribe button and find out on the next video. Thank you guys for watching.